it just kind of goosebumps really, because this is hundreds of years before Jesus comes, obviously, and yet it couldn't really point much more clearly to him.
Welcome to the Bible in 1 Year podcast, brought to you by two Brits and a Bible. If you like the idea of a casual yet meaningful chat about the Bible with a couple of mates, listen in. This could be for you.
Today is day 211, covering Isaiah 9, 10, 11 and 12. If you need a brief overview of those chapters, they are in the description.
Oh, hadn't spotted that before we recorded, but chance to even it up.
All right, let's do it.
3, 2, 1. Damn it.
I
was tempted to avoid rock, because I haven't done it in a while, so there you go.
Yeah. This is where it becomes a real head game, because I noticed that I think you did paper 2 goes ago, scissors last go. So I was like, I wonder if he's rotating through or something. So I was like, okay, I think he's going to do rock.
Interesting.
Oh, I'm going to do this. But then you get messed up in your head, because I was like, but he might just be he might be trying to make me think he's doing the cycle, and he's just going to do scissors, knowing I'm going to think it's rock, and therefore I'll do paper. So anyway, yeah.
I had more time to prepare. I might have gone back and looked, but I was just winging it.
I will not lie, because you had lost quite a few, I genuinely thought possibly he's gone through and like analysed the games. And I'm glad you haven't. Like, you know, I'm really glad to hear that you haven't.
Would have, had I taken a note of what days we've done rock, paper, scissors, and back to those days, but I didn't have a note, so I wasn't going to start scrolling through. Anyway, you should make it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so quite a long reading. So it's Isaiah 9, 6 through 7. So, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. And it just kind of goosebumps, really, because this is hundreds of years before Jesus comes, obviously, and yet it couldn't really point much more clearly to him.
Yeah.
And it just amazes me. And it also, you know, it's one of my favorite books, really, Isaiah, and it's one of the ones that we have the most historical record of because of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we have like so much assurance that of all the books of the Bible, this is one that is just so well evidenced, and it's one of the most important ones to predicting Jesus, I suppose, prophesying Jesus. So I just love that, and it's great, isn't it?
It is, man. And that specific one is just so detailed as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot, especially in prophecy today. Like, it's easy to stay vague, to try and not outdo yourself. It's probably the wrong term, but
yeah, no, I get you.
Yes. Whereas this is just, like you said, so pig-in detailed. It's just fantastic. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And yeah, you're talking about like Mystic Meg and stuff like that, right? Bit of an old reference, but yeah. Like
you will intuition. Yeah, thanks, mate.
You will breathe oxygen today.
Yeah. You have another one, I think, before my point.
All right, sweet. So the Lord will cut off from Israel both the head and the tail, both palm branch and reed in a single day. And that's Isaiah 9, verse 14. After Jesus' crucifixion, obviously the temple splits in half, right? And so to me, I think that was, again, pointing to Jesus, pointing to what he will do. And also, obviously, Jesus did fulfill the Old Testament, not destroy it or anything, but he also just kind of like dissected it, really, right? And tried to show the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were like the head and the tail, the beginning and the end of Judaism, right? What they were getting wrong, effectively.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
again,
totally. I picked out the very next part, which was 9:16. Those who guide this people mislead them, and those who are guided are led astray. There's just a sort of a double point that we should be praying for our leaders, because I think that's such an important thing to do, really. And then actually out the back of that, those who are guided are led astray. We need to be able to like stand aside when we should be standing aside and stand up for our faith, but also we need to, you know, submit to authority. So yeah, it's great. And then actually when you get into Isaiah 10:17-19, where it's talking about the light of Israel will become a fire, the Holy One a flame, and the day will burn down and consume his thorns and briars. All this sort of stuff in that, and the child, the splendor of the forest of fertile fields it will completely destroy, as when those who are ill waste away, and the remaining trees of his forest will be so few that a child could write them down. And it's just, I love the visual, and actually through sort of the last sort of 4 or 5 chapters, really, it's been referencing the thorns and the briars coming in, overtaking the fertile land that we were chatting about yesterday.
Right.
And it's just like, actually, despite that, it will still come back again, but the ones that stand are going to be few at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so cool, man. All of this, so cool. My next one is sort of straddling your next one, I suppose. So I've got a large bit to read again. I loved some of these chapters, and sometimes I think, like we've discussed, it's just nice to read a chunk, just because the Bible really is just pretty awesome, isn't it? So I'm just going to read this out, and my point's perhaps a bit different to your points, so obviously we can bounce around, but this is Isaiah 11 verse 2 to verse 5, and then Adam will do commentary on verse 3 as well within this. So the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the spirit of counsel and of might, the spirit of the knowledge and fear of the Lord, and he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy, with justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, with the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt, and faithfulness the sash around his waist. So again, it's just this profound, amazing imagery of the Messiah, of Jesus, right? And I love some of the ways that it references other parts of the Bible as well, at least subtly. So, you know, the idea of like that he will have knowledge and fear of the Lord, and obviously the beginning of wisdom is fearing the Lord. And obviously Jesus had perfect wisdom, perfect justice, perfect everything. And, you know, I could spend 10 minutes just on deconstructing that. But again, I just think it's just amazing how Isaiah's prophecies come out.
Yeah, oh, totally. And like you said, the bit that I was pulling out from 11 verse 3, which is, he will not judge by what he sees with his eyes, or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy.
Yeah.
And just, it's a good reminder just not to take everything at face value.
Right.
And just trust like what you hear. I'm an absolute sucker for that. I just naturally trust people, and so if they tell me something, I'm like, all right, cool. And people are like, you realize that can't be true, and I'm like, really? Oh, okay. Like, I'm way too trustworthy with stuff like that. But we need to rely on our spiritual gifts, on our discernment, on our wisdom, on, you know, all those kind of things, and learn to, again, sort of stand up when someone's saying something directly against the word of the Lord or what we believe. Actually stand up and be counted in those moments.
Yeah, that's good, man. And that just sort of made me think of something that's so obvious, but I've never thought of it before, is that all of our spiritual gifts obviously are just reflections of God, and obviously Christ had perfect all of them, of course. So it's great, as you say, to like try and use the gifts that we have to try and imitate what Jesus did while he was here. So that's awesome.
Yeah, boy. Okay, then I had a couple in here from chapter 12. So Isaiah 12, right at the beginning there, 1 and 2. In that day you will say, I will praise you, Lord. Although you are angry with me, your anger has turned away, and you have comforted me. Surely God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. And it's just this, after everything we've just been through of stuff being burnt down and God coming, and some gritty stuff in there. Yeah. It's like, but God will come back. He will redeem you. Like, he's going to come through for us in the end. Like, we're going to go through hardships, but God is your safe place, your refuge. The amount of times that, honestly, I think sometimes I've scared Archie and Kinsey quite a lot, where they're getting into a very dangerous situation, like running towards traffic, and I really yell, scares the crap out of them. But actually, I'm always their safe place. And it's at times where it's like, you know, that's an extreme example compared to what we're going through here, but actually it's okay to be scared. God is still God. He's still good. Our safe spot.
Love that, man. All right, well, that's all we've got time for today. Tomorrow's readings are going to be Isaiah 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So why don't you beautiful people pick up your Bibles and get reading?
Yeah, and share it on social media and